All right, Shalom Israel. Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai Barakatham to the brothers. Yahweh Shamar Allah Tham Bashim Yahweh Shai to the sisters. We are the I.S.U.P.K, the Israelite School Universal Practical Knowledge, established in 1969, 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York. We are led by Commanding General Yahanna. We are not affiliated with any organization, Israelite or otherwise. No political party affiliations, no church affiliations, no book club affiliations. This is 100% home of the truth. This is where, in our modern age, the truth had been reestablished and grown. Not to say that there weren't any brothers and sisters that knew about their history prior to the I.S.U.P.K that was established in 69. But there was nothing galvanized as a community, as a school, hence the name. And we've been teaching the truth of the Bible and the Israelite culture strong since 69. And today is we're coming to you live from the I.S.U.P.K Milwaukee school. We're going to be going over the law class. If you're joining us on social media, any social media platform, we're streaming live on YouTube, on Twitter, and on Facebook. I believe are the 3 platforms that we have right now. Yeah, so Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. There we go. So if you're following us on any of the platforms, feel free to like, share, subscribe to content. Any questions, comments, or concerns, you can type in the chat box. And today, what I'm going to be focusing on is, so what's the purpose of the law? Why do we have rules and regulations? Are there examples of when we had, going without the law, and how our course of actions were altered? If our behavior was different, if it was for the better or the worse for the nation. So let's see if I can pull these up here. It's like I'm not as technologically advanced as some of the brothers, but we are going to keep this thing moving. So if you are following along in the chat, so we always use the King James Version. If you have like the 1611, that's written in Old English, has the Apocrypha included, or if you have, and I don't like putting like a label on this, it's still the King James Version. It's just not written in Old English. It's in a more modern vernacular, but it says the same thing. Just instead of thou in the 1611, it'll say you. Instead of thee, it'll say you or we. The U's are substituted with like V's, or there's no J in here. They use an I in the 1611 in this one. So this is written in the Old English with the Apocrypha included. This is written in a more modern style, but it literally says the same things, but it does not have the Apocrypha included in it. So if you were to get this one, that might be a little bit easier to read. This has the Roman numerals in it. This just has your standard numerical system that we are used to today. But then you'd have to get the Apocrypha separate. So this is the 14 books that the Catholic Church had taken out. Pair these up. Otherwise, you can just get this. So where I always like to start, though, is Zephaniah chapter 2, verse 1, because this is where we can at least start building up rapport with each other. You got a lot of people from a lot of different backgrounds that have believed in this, that, and the third. And they never they were never taught the Bible. I'm just saying, like, broadly, across the board, majority. They were never taught the Bible. They were taught Christianity. They were taught Catholicism. They were taught Baptist or Presbyterian. They were taught Mormonism, which is more of an Edomite practice. But they were never taught the Bible. The Bible is the culture and the customs of Israel, God's chosen people. And nobody ever argues with the people that wear them small hats and they got them crazy sideburns. Nobody ever argues with them when they say that they're God's chosen people. Partially because of the altercation with the Germans, which is just another. It's a different. It's a different tribe amongst their own family group. They're all the same people. They've got different labels, Germanic, Jewish, but they're all Caucasians. They all have the same predecessors, and I would say the more direct same predecessors, just to be more accurate with it, because again, everybody that's living today, we come from the family group of Adam. Just families had grown, had flourished, had broken off, and became their own family groups. So when the Bible says that it was in Ezra's, of Adam, whom come we all, even the chosen people, that's it does encompass all the family groups on earth, but we are set apart as a people. But nobody ever argues with those so-called Jewish people. Well, no, they are Jewish, so-called Jews, that when they say that they're God's chosen people, nobody argues with them. And, they got such a tragic, and in-depth, history and past that, God forbid you say anything, against them that would be deemed anti-Semitic by your bleeding heart liberals and that are watching all the social media platforms and trying to keep a chokehold on the truth. Nobody ever argues with them. So now that I'm wearing this shirt, this is probably a good time. This is a true Holocaust. That's what a true Holocaust looks like. Those slave ships from the transatlantic slave trade. That's what the true Holocaust looks like. To the real Jews, to the actual Jews, the historical, the Jews of antiquity. Niggers, as they called them in the Bible. Niggers, as they call them today. So-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians. We are those Israelites. We are those Jews. Thousand Oaks. That was a real Holocaust. The Trail of Tears. That was a real Holocaust. The Alamo. You know what I'm saying? These are things that have gone on for. If we really go back, what happened in the Maccabees, Babylon, Assyria, Egypt? We're talking thousands of years of an oppressed culture in history, versus, I think, between World War I and II. What was it? Mainly two. What was it, like 4 or 6 years or something like that. A handful of some millions of them died. Murder is wrong across the board. Don't get me wrong. Murder is not okay. Nobody should be murdering. And the as a people that have experienced it for so long, we are empathetic to that plight. Nevertheless, those are not real Jews. They are Jewish. They have hijacked the culture of the Israelites and they've got stolen valor. They do not only match the history that's written in the Bible, the prophecies, the character, the culture that's in the Bible. They've played off the sympathy that everybody else gives them, and primarily by blackmail. Believe it or not, right? Like, believe it or not, like who who would ever accuse such a meek, people that they had actually blackmailed their way to the top and stolen and raped, robbed, and murdered their way to that seat of power where they can just sit behind that Wizard of Oz curtain and pull all these strings and push all these buttons and move all these pieces on the little chessboard to get everybody to, do their bidding. Who would have thought, right? Yeah, they come off so prim and proper, and it's a lie that the whole world has, gobbled up, and again had been blackmailed to push that agenda. We're not talking about the dark side of the moon or Area 51 and Roswell, New Mexico, or who had Bigfoot. We're not talking about like fantastical anomalies or conspiracy theories. Where we're talking about real history that has been published. Like they have been outed. Just nobody wants to talk about it. The truth is definitely out there, but nobody wants to argue the point. Nobody wants to go against the grain. Nobody wants to ruffle any feathers. Well, luckily, no, I want to say luckily, but all praises to the Most High. Barakatah Yahweh Yahweh Shai for the I.S.U.P.K and the commanding General Yahanna for being the ones to push the truth and hold it down diligently and by any means that are lawfully uh, necessary to pursue. If you read our disclaimer on ISUPK.com, we're not a hate group. We do not advocate or promote violence. We will defend what's ours, though. That is our chair. You know what I'm saying? That's our chair. Leave that chair alone. Get your own chair. So our job is to deliver the truth of the Bible, and we will expose the truth and the lies of Christianity, Catholicism, Islam, Buddhism. If listen, man, you got so many different ideologies out there and religions that go unchecked, unchallenged, not held accountable, um, supported by special interest groups, funded by governments that push a certain narrative that doesn't pose any threat to the powers that be. So they let them just prance around. Literally, they just prancing around. Meanwhile, we have to struggle. We have to fight tooth and nail to provide the little bit of relief that we are able to. And again, shout out to Commander General Yahanna for the work that he's put in and for the stance that he's held all these years to give that to his people that he cares about with sincerity. If you've never met that man, like, you shouldn't say shit. Slack it for the lane. You shouldn't say a goddamn thing about a goddamn thing that the UPK does if you're not here with us. If you're not in the truth. And I'm not talking about knowing a couple Bible verses and having watched some classes and learned the breakdowns and then taught it to somebody else or even applied it to your own life. I'm talking about being in the truth. When somebody say they in the streets, that's indicative that that's their life. That's what they apply their energy to, their resources. That's that's their lifestyle. They in the streets. Whether it's drugs and hustling, gangbanging, thugging, that's their life. They in the streets. They're not just somebody who lives in in the suburbs and takes the city bus. Yeah, you're in the streets. You got to go through the urban environments. You got to go through the ghetto sometimes. Maybe if you're living on the outskirts, like if you're living like Brookfield or something like that, or Shorewood in Milwaukee, you might have to take the 15 of the green through the hood to get downtown, or to connect to another bus, the goal line, or the 30, to get to a different side of town. Take the 15 all the way to South Milwaukee. That doesn't mean you're in the streets. You're just on the bus. Being in the truth is also has requirements. There's only one body of Christ, and again, where it's like I don't want to do too much talking. I'll try to get some of the scriptures out for you. But it's only one body of Christ. It's only one faith. It's only one baptism. There's only one truth according to the Bible. Considering the Bible, you got a whole lot of truths of biology that the Bible is not overly concerned with. It it has scientific mentions in the Bible, but it's not going to go into like the, for example, the alchemy of metals and minerals, how to refine gold, or breaking down the periodic table of elements, because again, this is primarily fixed on the culture and the customs of the nation of Israel. This Bible was written to, for, and by Israelites. So it's going to cater to the needs of Israelites according to the culture established by the Most High, the laws established by the Most High for Israelites. Our customs and our culture are the laws. So let's get to a few things that I wanted to touch upon. So Zephaniah chapter 2, verse 1. It's always a good starting point, because at least from here we have the at least the room to grow with each other, despite what we agree or disagree with. Most of the problems that we have between each other are not that serious, but you got these little hang-ups. You got all these egos that people just can't overcome, and it convolutes the message. It gets in the way of progress. So Zephaniah chapter 2, verse 1. And gather yourselves together, yea, gather together, O nation not desired. We are the only group of people that is expected to love and accept and be tolerant of everybody else on earth. All of their customs, all of their ways, all of their standards, their expectations. We are expected to accept them for who they are, and for living their truths, which is garbage and detrimental to our way of life. All that alternative lifestyle, man, it destroys the family. But we can't say we're not expected, I should say, or we're not. Well, yeah, that's kind of their expectancy. We are expected to tolerate it. We're expected to accept it. And if we don't, I mean, they're going to rain down social justice hell, and fire and brimstone on anybody that would disagree with their point, um, or not be accepting of it in their way of life. Not to say anything against it. If you're a father and you got a daughter who uses the appropriate bathroom, and you find it hazardous that Frank woke up and felt he felt he was in the spirit of Claire that morning and wanted to use the same facilities, you're going to be targeted, and you're going to like, and again, by and large, for the majority across the earth, you're going to be persecuted for protecting your daughter and blocking that individual from using the same facilities. As a father, that's kind of that's your damn job. As a parent, that's your job. As a brother, that's your job. As a sister, that's your job. For any family group, hell, for anybody, that should be the case in point. That should be the standard of living. But you got the majority of people that have just kind of turned a blind eye to it. It kind of rolled over and went belly up, and they said that because these people that are in power, they've pushed that narrative so for so long, and with such with the numbers behind them, with the numbers and the money and the influence and the power behind them, the powers that be, at least, uh, to push that agenda, that they just cave in. We don't cave in. Israel don't cave in. We were taught not to cave in. We were instructed not to cave in on the laws of the Bible. So, as history would have it, we have become hated. We have become a nation that is not desired. Again, across the board. Eastern hemisphere, Western hemisphere, Northern hemisphere, Southern hemisphere. We are the black sheep in that sense, because especially in the UPK, we don't budge on these points. The laws that are in these records that set us apart from everybody else, it's for a good reason. It's for the safety of our children, the safety of our family, the progression of our people, and to hold a standard of decency and order, that when, I ain't gonna say if, because um, we know this earth, this world that we know it as, is running out of time. Hey, Kananya. Hey, priest and officer Kananya. Shalom, Yahweh Shem Shabrakatah. Checking in, my nigga. Another powerful priest. If you ever check out his classes, man, hit that brother up, man. So again, we see the trends that are setting on earth, and we see so like 1 second. We see the direction that this world is going into. So when this kingdom collapses and everything is going to be subjected to the Most High, under the authority of Christ, with Israel at its holding down the fort. Everybody is going to end up serving the God of Israel, and these laws are going to provide a better quality of life. Homosexuality is fundamentally wrong. It's dirty, it's nasty, it's filthy, it is ridden with disease. Monkeypox should not be a thing. AIDS should not be a thing. They ain't catching that from monkeys, man. Like that. That's not. Again, conspiracy theories aside, that's not what it's. That's not how the disease is. It's because men took unnatural acts against men, women against women, and then they swap partners out. That whole free love society. Orgies are not like that. It's selective. But before I get off track, Zephaniah 2:1, gather yourselves together, yea, gather together, O nation I desire. We are persecuted people in everybody else's eyes. and we are a judged people in everybody else's eyes. We are not a desired people in everybody else's eyes. As far as how would I say, maybe us being alive, because they steal all of our customs. They're not customs, but flavor. In Japan, they've got a whole Chicano subculture where they're copying the bald heads with the tattoos, with the cholo shirts, with the khaki pants, with the lowriders, with the music. They got a whole. I promise you, look this shit up. They got a whole Chicano subculture out there. Everybody playing our music. Everybody copying our dance style. Everybody loves tacos. You know what I'm saying? Like they love what we have provided, but they hate us as a people. We are not desired. We are not valued by them. So it's telling us to value each other. It's telling us to prefer one another. We'll get that scripture too, actually, now that we say it. Go. It's telling us to prefer one another. It's telling us to rock with each other, man. Be patrons of each other's businesses. Let us help grow each other's businesses. That's another good one to get. Here we go. And really, while I'm at it, select, bear with me 1 second. I'm just gonna pull up a few scriptures to get to, since I'm kind of teetering in that direction. But it's telling us, gather together, ye gather together, O nation not desired, so that at least we can hash out the terms and differences between us. There might be a lot of different things that we agree with, don't and disagree with. Some common ground that could help bring us together, and then stupid things that'll put that rift between us. You got some dudes that wear purple with these weird gold tassels that work for the NYPD and different police departments across the states that that teach that you can only have one wife, and they use the scriptures to try to validate that and back that up. Especially that one about a bishop is to be blameless and only have one wife. Well, they only got one bishop. So what about the rest of them? What about the rest of the deacons that have been arrested and charged, with like embezzlement and theft of some of their other members? It gets to a point where the truth is compromised from the outside looking in, because people are seeing all these breakoffs of breakoffs of breakoffs of breakoffs that broke off from the UPK way back when, and now they don't know who's telling the truth. So some of them even make up their own, and they still copy different elements from not only the UPK but then from some of those breakoffs too, and they try to establish their own theology after that. They're a completely different doctrine. And some people feel comfortable over here because, well, shit, maybe they just like the color maroon better than purple, or these guys they just prefer teal, and then these dudes they got blue on, and their name just sounds so profound. It's such a cool color, and they all got the same goddamn t-shirts with the same goddamn tassels on it. They try to pass it off as fringes. I know it might look like it's such. I'm just Salaki. Maybe I'm biased. I'm not going to accept that just because of the way that they promote it and push it. Like, ain't nothing wrong with the color purple, maroon, teal, blue, what have you. You should see some of our garments. If you was at the Passover in North Carolina, shout out to Captain Athakin out there in North Carolina, man. Passover was beautiful. Passover was glorious. We gearing up for the next. Lord allow the next one before Yahushua return and overthrow this wicked kingdom. But it's how they use it. It's how they wear it. It's the message behind who's wearing it. Just like when you go to the voting booth, and you might agree with some of the tenets that the the campaign or the political parties and their representatives. You might agree with some of the points that they represent, but maybe there's something that you don't necessarily agree with, but you prefer their stance on gun laws, or for some of the people it was about weed. You prefer their stance on these issues over the next party, so you're just going to vote for them anyway because that favors your personal agenda and what you would like to see pushed. Meanwhile, you don't know that Kamala Harris was one of the biggest proponents of the was like the three strike law out there in California, and got many, 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 many men locked up on trumped up charges. But you voted for Biden and Kamala Harris. You didn't know their backgrounds, or maybe you did, but you didn't care. Like that. That's where that dividing line needs to come into place. That's why we need to gather together. If you don't agree with the stance of the UPK, that's fine. You should at least be you should at least be brotherly and or sisterly enough to come to the table. And if you got an argument, no sweat, we can always talk that out. We got cookouts. I mean, we're about to do the Midwest Fire Weekend. I think it's like right at the end of July. I think it's like right, yeah, at the end of July. So we've got the Solution to the Kia Boys lecture right here in Milwaukee, mind you. Actually, let's see if I can pull up that flyer too. But then we got the Midwest Fire Weekend in Chicago, and then after that, I believe it's New York, and then I think Texas, Vegas, Florida. So right before winter, like pretty much every month, starting in July, August, we're gonna be having cookouts in different regions. So if you're in those different regions, gather together. Nation not desired. You're gonna be safe at our events. Yeah, there's a strict security protocols that we follow for our safety and yours. So when you're asked to open up your purse or empty your pockets, don't take it personal. If you got something that you shouldn't have on you, leave it in the car. Leave it at home. You don't need your gun when you come into the Midwest Fire Weekend. You don't need to bring all that when you're coming through. I understand self-defense, that's fine. Just don't bring it here. Don't bring it into our events, don't bring it to our schools. It's we have families that are also in attendance, women and children as well. So keep the bullshit at home. Keep if don't bring your drugs, man. It's these are some of the things that we're trying to recondition our people to think about and consider. That again, at least we can gather together and talk about. You think weed is such a natural thing? Well, let's discuss it. Let's see what the law says about mind altering substances. And people want to talk about its medicine. Well, what are you sick of? What's your ailment? You've been smoking for the past 20, 30 years. Why aren't you healed? Why aren't you any better? All those different strands of weed that they're coming out with, and you're trying everything under the sun in the wrong way too. They got all these GMO'd and altered strains out there that you don't even know what you're consuming anymore. And then also with the topic of smoking, any kind of smoke that you're sitting there inhaling, incense is different. You're not sitting there over the incense stick or cone and just drawing lines of it. It just it provides a preferred scent in the atmosphere in the room. When you're smoking a blunt, smoking a bong, smoking cigarettes, smoking crack, smoking meth, Like those are some of the things that people more than likely agree with the UPK on, that that's wrong. But you can't tell them nothing about weed that's laced with fentanyl or ammonia. Can't tell them nothing about that. But it causes more problems than good, and you're always left in a lower state. You're not elevating yourself, man. You're making yourself paranoid, and and how would I say it? I don't want to say agreeable, but manipulatable. We like inventing new words in the UPK. Manipulatable, suggestible, suggestive, maybe. I don't know, something like that. But you become very vulnerable to a lot of different alternative lifestyles. Well, I'll just stop it there. Try to be PG about it, at least right now. Um, so real quick. Pull up a couple more. So now, verse 2, Zephaniah chapter 2, verse 2. Before the decree bring forth, before the day passes the shaft, before the fierce anger of the Lord come upon you, before the day of the Lord's anger come upon you, there is a great and mighty hell coming to America. And heaven and hell are just conditions. You got to look at the context of the word to really understand what the meaning is behind it. But according to the Bible, heaven and hell are conditions. It's it's a quality of life, and there is a great and mighty hell coming to America, coming to this earth, coming to the powers that be, because they have not followed the laws of the Most High. They have tried to suppress the laws of the Most High. They have tried to suppress the culture and the truth of Israel, and they've been successful for a long time. You know what I'm saying? But the truth has surfaced. Most High had kept his covenant with us. We were just, we had broken it. We had broken rank. We had broken rank, and we had we had taken on, we had accepted the lifestyle and the customs, and the we had submitted to the way of life of other nations, other customs. And we're gonna look at that too. So before it gets bad, we've had, like, the fires in Northern California that was burning up, no, not Beverly Hills, but what's the Kardashians' places? Burning up, celebrities, playgrounds and whatnot. It did burn down Compton or Inglewood. You know what I'm saying? It burned down Northern California and their subdivisions and their little protected gated communities. Didn't protect them from a goddamn fire that was sent down by the Lord. Before you got to see these punishments knocking on your doorstep, gather together, with you people, as a people, with the spirit of brotherhood. To if you got a disagreement, if you need some understanding, to at least come to the people who have your best interests in mind, who have or are trained professionals in this line of work. where you can get the correct answer and instruction from. Now, listen, test the spirits. Try every spirit. The scripture says, paraphrasing, the Lord be with you. If you feel that a t-shirt with tassels on it is better for you, okay, um, then I mean, yeah, you should just probably just do that. If you feel like fighting for the truth and reinvigorating the spirit, that warrior spirit of Israel is more your style, then hey, listen, Lord be with you. And we got classes in pretty much every major metropolitan, well, schools I should say, pretty much every major metropolitan city across America, in Canada, the UK, Puerto Rico, South America, and the Caribbean islands. You'd have a hard time not finding a school near you than you would trying to track one down. ISUPK.com. That easy. So at least we should start gathering together. That is an instruction. That is it's like that is law. That we should be dealing with each other first and foremost if we want to get to the bottom of this. Also check out Romans chapter 12 verse 10. Yeah, that's what I was saying. As far as gathering together, we should prefer. Don't go to China to figure out what Israel's supposed to do. Yeah, don't go to Russia to see about what Israel is expected to do. Don't go to Hawaii. Don't go to your oppressors to find out what your people are supposed to do when we have our records written right down here. We've got our standard of living, our code of conduct, our moral compass right here in these records. This is what is expected of us. So prefer your own, man. Gather together. Be kindly. Romans 12 and 10. So when you come to these events too, man, um, don't just be easy. Just be easy. Relax. Relax. And have be sober too. Like if you got a substance abuse problem, we can work with you through that. We have counseling programs, we have drug rehabilitation programs, and you're dealing with people that come from that lifestyle. So it's relatable. It's nothing that we haven't dealt with. And more, you got brothers and sisters that are being born right now into the truth that'll never have to know. They'll never have to know about fentanyl, Newport hundreds, or 211s. Lord allow like a lot of that gets wiped off, wiped out of the liquor stores. Ain't nothing wrong with some strong drink, some wine, some beer, some shots. Wrong with that. Just be responsible. Not everybody needs to drink. Some people just should not drink. They may have an addictive personality, or they may have some health concerns that don't quite agree with it. But when you come into these events, when you come into these schools, be mindful. Uh, Romans chapter 12, verse 10, be kindly affection to one to another with brotherly love and honor, preferring one another. So again, that's that expectation of, listen, man, come in peace, man. It's be cool when you come around the brothers. Brothers gonna be cool when they come when you come around us. Just watch your step. It's ain't no cowards over here. Ain't no cowards. We ain't no Christian. We ain't no Buddhist. We ain't no pacifists. Life is war. and we are trained to handle that accordingly. But it's important to have that preference for your people, so as to not, feed into the to not promote or push the agenda of another people. Uh, who is that? Namaste ass niggas. Like the Dalai Lama. If you're into that practice, that way of life, and you got some reverence for the Dalai Lama, just remember he's on national, like international TV talking to a little boy, a child. A child. They say that he was joking. If there were no cameras, if that child was not um responsible enough, aware enough that was wrong, if that child did not resist his his suggestion, he would have had that child completely go through with it. He had told that young kid, that old ass dude, he's like 60, 70, 80,000 some odd years old. That little boy, he was like maybe 9 or 10 or something like that. Told that little kid, he snuck a kiss on the lips from a man to a boy. That's wrong. That should have been the first red flag. Hell no, even before that, there were some red flags even before that. Like the dude's whole mannerism. But this was the Dalai Lama, their spiritual leader, a Hindu. No, is that Hindu? Let's actually look that up real quick. I don't want to blame the wrong one on the wrong dude, but Dalai Lama is the Tibet. Dalai Lama is the leader of segment of Buddhism. So that's part of that Buddhist movement. And he asked that kid, "Dude, will you suck on my tongue?" That was a grown ass man asking a little boy, a child, a prepubescent kid to suck on his tongue. That's why we need these laws. These laws would prevent things like that. If the world was governed under this, all that would be X'd out with inappropriate prejudice. Ain't no counseling. Like, listen, dog. Ain't no support group for that. Like those are crimes that are punishable by God, by death, by God. That you are not to cross these lines. But you got people crossing them lines and trying to make it okay, trying to make it the normal. They're trying to make pedophilia not just in America, but again across the board. They're trying to make pedophilia a normalized thing, a normalized practice. You've got those special interest groups again that are advocating for that state of mind. I think they're damn. What's the term? Um, Not ages, but they're trying to draw like some kind of awareness or like prejudice against people that uh are drawn to a certain age group. Like they just like dog. It's not like you're drawn to which would be a normal thing. If you're drawn to uh, sister with braids or sister with fro, a sister that's 5'2", a sister, and you might be 10 feet tall, sister that's 6 feet tall, whatever. Eh, different features that again would be normal with adults. You're talking about adults that have a sexual preference towards kids. They're trying to make that the normal. They're trying to prevent prejudice and restrictions and pushback against adults that are just drawn to kids. And then they're trying to influence kids to have that open mind to be, you know what I'm saying, to be attracted to adults. when you should be attracted to flipping Legos, a bicycle, like popping wheelies, Nerf gun fights. You're a child. You shouldn't be thinking about sex. And they try to use antiquity as an excuse, saying little girls were betrothed to grown men. That's not in the Bible. That's not in the Bible. Um, that's in Islam. That's in the Quran. That's practices of other religious groups, but we have laws preventing that. We have laws against things like that. That again establish our culture and the differences between us and everybody else. And that's another reason why we are not desired. Yeah, heathens. Yeah, Canaan. Yeah, damn right. Heathens, man. They call it maps. Hey, Tawada, thank you. Thank you. Minor attracted persons. This place is, yeah, good and goddamn right. Maps. Like they've got a whole movement. Again, special interest groups. And they've got government funding. Like they've got like a whole, flipping platoon behind them. And they're trying to make that a normal thing. They're trying to make, they're trying to make it culturally acceptable. And they sneak it into movies and music and cartoons, shows that are supposed to be family oriented, and then they try to sneak all these little things in there and normalize it and drop the shock value down so that when we do see it in real life, people are again more tolerant of it, more accepting of it. Our laws would prevent that from happening. If you're a father, if you're a mother, if you're a big brother, big sister, you got some young ones underneath you, and it's like maybe that's a wrong choice of words to say using this example, but if you got your young ones that you are responsible for, ask yourself, like, are you okay with that? And what laws are going to protect them? What laws are going to protect you for protecting them? Because if you're to say something against somebody, one of those maps, if you're to say something against them, shit, you might have a whole lawsuit on your hands because you're discriminating against somebody that just they're 54 years old, but they identify with a toddler. Damn, I want to try to look this up real quick. There was a story. This was some years ago. This is some years ago. But I believe it was by the same judge. Damn, Salaki. Man. Let me just try. So yup. And then there's a number of these, man. There's a whole lot. There's a whole lot, and I don't care what ethnicity they are identified as, but there was one in particular I was trying to look for. This might be it. All right, so beginning 2003. This was a while ago. Like a 6-year-old man was sentenced to probation after being indicted by a grand jury on charges relating to alleged sexual abuse of 2 children. This magistrate judge, Keith Walker, gave Jeffrey Froelich a misdemeanor sentence of 120 days in jail as part of a binding plea agreement entered into by Froelich defense's attorney and Fremont County prosecutors. He had 119 days of that sentence suspended due to credit for time served, meaning he had already served that amount of time in jail, probably during like waiting for sentencing and things like that. A $600 fine plus court costs. But Walker suspended, again, that's the judge, suspended the fines and ordered Froelich to only pay the court costs. In Milwaukee, I think like normally like court costs are like $35 or something like that. He was originally charged with 2 felony counts of lewd conduct with a child under 16 and 2 misdemeanor counts of injury to a child, but accepted a binding plea agreement in February, agreeing to enter Alfred pleas, agreeing to to the misdemeanor charges if the prosecution agreed to drop the felony charges. An Alfred plea is a guilty plea where a defendant continues to assert their innocence, but admits a jury would likely find them guilty with the evidence presented. So that seems like Edomite version of like pleading the fifth or something like that. Because the plea agreement was binding, Walker either had to accept or deny it in its entirety. If Walker had denied it, Froelich would have withdrawn the plea. According to the agreement, the defendant acknowledges that if the court does not accept the plea terms and conditions of this agreement, he shall have the right to withdraw his Alfred plea. So again, he would have the right. He would have had the right. In the Bible, you would not have had the right. If you were found guilty of charges like this, bro, that's death. Taking the innocence from a child like that. Rape is a death penalty offense in the Bible. Child molestation is a death penalty offense in the Bible. And this soft ass world that we living in, they got no problem accepting that. Shout out to the sister. Shout out to the sister, Faith Power. Shalom, Yahweh Shemal Athabah Shem Yahweh Shai. Peace and Officer Kananya Rib. Beautiful couple right there, man. So now, these people get probation. This is not the only case. This is not the only instance. And again, they old weirdo ass old men. So now, and this is the other part I wanted to show you. Prison. There was. So drugs are bad too. Listen, witchcraft, which is if you know the history of drugs, the the agenda for it, the practices behind it, you would understand. And again, we got classes for all this stuff, breakdowns for all this stuff. You would understand how that is compared to witchcraft in the Bible. That is also a death penalty offense. But I'm trying to show you how they will give these people a slap on the wrist. And there are drug dealers. And again, we ain't making no excuses for none of them. Just to show you, and dude is a white man, by the way, Salaki, a so-called white man. That is, not even in league necessarily with the powers that be, but that's their people. So they have an interest in protecting their own kind, and they have a vested interest in destroying that nation that's not desired. And if you remember earlier, we had read that was us. And again, Kamala Harris was a huge proponent in third strike and harsh, very harsh drug felony offenses. But they will give you life. They will give you years and years and years like heavy, heavy years, felony charges, and years in prison for some of these drug offenses and robbery, theft. I mean, hell, you had that one Asian store owner that shot that young brother in the back. Brother was like 14 years old. That Asian dude was like 40, 50, I think, almost 60. Shot that young man in the back because he thought that he was stealing from him. And especially in his mind, in the era that Asian dude grew up in, you could kill niggas and nothing would happen to you. Virtually nothing would happen to you. You can shoot brothers in the back that are running away from you, not threatening your life at all. You could murder them in cold blood, and you would be protected under the laws of the government, because they do not protect. They are not meant to protect everybody. Yeah, so like I can't find the story that I was looking for, but like this brother, like he had, and again, there's nothing acceptable about drugs. Crack cocaine is a detriment to society, and that needs to get buried under the jail too. But just for an example, you got these old white people molesting and raping children, getting probation. You got these young black men selling the same drugs that were pushed onto them by from generations by that same government that's charged that started the war on drugs, that's charging them for the offense, giving them years. The one brother had he had like 1 gram on him, so like it was a small amount. Again, no excuses, but it was a small amount, and that did not involve taking the innocence of a child by force. This might be it. Slack, yeah. Slack, that's not the one I was looking for. But again, we have laws that keep it, even like the laws of the Bible are unbiased as far as what's right and what's wrong. If an Israelite were to do it, they were to get punished accordingly. If a heathen were to do it, they're to get punished accordingly under the authority of Israel. That's why when the wicked rule, so we can at least get that one. Proverbs chapter 29, verse 2. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn. There is a certain group of people that is in power at the moment. I don't know if anybody's noticed, but they are at the helm, and they are essentially running the earth. You got that rich top 1%. Well, you have a confederacy of different nations that dictate the currency, the political agendas of different nations, the uh, wars, for example. between nations. Like there's only a North and South Korea, like because of America, because of America and Russia, which are both Edomite, so-called white races that got into the affairs of so-called Asian people, and now you've got whole countries, whole families split up. Anywhere they go, man, it's just trouble. It's trouble, drama. Proverbs 29:2, when the righteous are in authority, when our laws, when the laws of this Bible, these records, are in place and how would I say, authorized authorized by the Most High Christ and carried out in the kingdom, the people will rejoice, because this is what's going to put a stop to poverty and homelessness and pollution. You ain't gotta have campaigns to save the whales versus fixing the water in Flint, Michigan. Just everything's gonna be done in decency and order. And we're not gonna have to worry about COVID-19 and people eating unclean animals, spreading diseases. And you have to worry about cannibalism. You ain't gonna have to worry about again. All right, so we talked about this earlier: AIDS, monkeypox, sexually transmitted diseases. These are things that would be regulated because of laws that are in place that would prevent things like that from just from from taking place because of man's selfish desires and their lust and their covetousness and their frenzy for instant gratification. Everything's gonna be handled. Everything's gonna be handled in the way that the Lord had stipulated in the Bible, and we're not gonna have to worry about. Well, what were those old kind of advertisements? It's 7 p.m. Do you know where your kids are? We ain't gonna have to worry about that. So it says, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn. That's because the powers that are it's like the powers that are in control right now, they're the ones who put the drugs in the community. They're the ones who put the fentanyl and razor blades and glass and needles in your kids' Halloween candy, because they're the ones who pushed Halloween. They're the ones who pushing all these pagan holidays and traditions and customs. That again, if you were to do the research on it, you're gonna find out how bloody and immoral those customs are. And again, you're gonna find out the people that those customs belong to. The um the idol worship that's attached to it also. Again, by those people's customs, pagan customs. Like y'all didn't know how bloody Valentine's Day was, huh? Y'all don't think that there was anything wrong with Easter. Rabbits don't lay eggs, man. Ain't got nothing to do with Yahweh being resurrected either. Y'all thought Mother's Day was something, so innocent and peaceful. You don't know the history behind that and where it comes from. The high holy days that we have, a lot, not all of them, but just to give an example, like if you were to look at a lot of them, it stems from our um our fight against oppressors and us regaining our freedom to again keep our culture and laws. like with the Maccabees, Hanukkah, for example. That was because of our that was because of an oppressor trying to force their will against us, over us, against our laws, to get them to serve their customs and follow their way of life. And we said no, because we had laws to protect our people from a disgusting lifestyle. And that can be something that is, and again, the world over is going to look at it as well, it's something innocent. It's just bacon, it's just pork. It's like the sister asked, the monkeypox come from homosexuality and lesbianism. It is definitely a byproduct of homosexuality and lesbianism. Uh, uh, let's see if we can look that up real quick. Uh, One second. So one example that we can see this in is Romans chapter 1, verse 26. Starting there. And then let's look up. So the cases of monkeypox. They're saying the monkeypox virus was discovered in Denmark, 1958, in monkeys kept for research. For the first report, and the first reported human case of monkeypox was a 9-month-old boy in the Democratic Republic of the Congo in 1970. It can be spread from person to person or occasionally from animals to people. Whatever the hell these weirdos were doing to contract monkeypox and spread it in a predominantly homosexual community. I mean, just add it up. I don't wanna sit there and try to wrap my brain around how they had contracted it and subsequently transmitted it. But there were, again, this was something that have blown up like real quick, real fast, and in a hurry in a homosexual community. And then, oh, maybe that's not the politically correct term, and then alternative lifestyle community. I mean, you had hundreds of cases of it. This was a more recent event, a very recent event. How did they contract it in order to spread it like wildfire in that community? Um, you can make a hypothesis, but the way, yeah, as far as how they contracted it, but as far as how they spread it in a homosexuality, in a LGBT, alternative lifestyle liberal community, um, I'm sure I'm sure it's pretty obvious. And again, same thing with AIDS. They've got a couple different origin stories for that, what have you, but we know that it is a bloodborne disease. And the Most High had said that, man lay with man, their blood shall be in their hands. It's like I'm paraphrasing that, but that blood of the blood will be upon them. I think it's how it's actually worded. Let's get rid of that one. Get rid of that one. But in Romans chapter 1, verse 26, for this cause God gave them up unto vile affections. For even their women did change the natural use into that which is against nature. And again, the men did the same thing. They were given up to vile affections. Like again, that when you're keeping the laws, you're gonna have this balance around you. You're gonna have now we're still dealing with the real world. You could stub your toe or catch the flu bug or something. Um, but you're not going to be engaged with people that are going to transmit monkeypox to you. Like there's that hedge of protection around you because you're keeping in line in accordance with the law, which again is meant to the law is meant to promote and protect life. As weird as it might seem to some people to not eat certain foods, it's to promote and protect life. Where we're talking about bottom feeders that again have known health risks associated with it, and it doesn't matter how you try to clean them up or domesticate them or feed them on this diet or that. The Most High said, "Don't eat this, that, and the third," and it's just that simple, man. If you wanted shrimp so bad, listen, just go get some cockroaches. Really no different. Just their shrimp are a little wetter. But if you ever seen cockroaches and pair them up with shrimp, that might explain a lot of things to you if you were to see them, close up like that. It's also good, as to not learn from all these different nations. It's paramount that again we pay attention to the laws that we were given as a people. Just because so-called Asians, seemingly get away with all types of weird stuff, that does not mean that so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians should be following suit. It- we should learn. Goddamn, we should have learned, many times over that every time we take on the customs of other people that again our neighborhood get destroyed, our family structure gets destroyed when we've had the perfect blueprint for success. Psalms 147 and 19. He showed this word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgments unto Israel. Verse 20, he hath not dealt so with any nation, and as for his judgments, they have not known them. Praise ye the Lord. This is what keeps us in line. This is what keeps us accountable. And because we've been given clear instruction, and we were, as again, back in the day, and I'm talking back in the day, as a people, we were prosperous, we were very successful. And once we left that, is when we started to see our decline, worshiping, idol worship, uh, different deities. Like Gabar, hey, Shalom, Madawan, Yabashim Sabrakata, also Ashayar. Yeah, from Chicago, right? Yeah, my nigga. Hey, Shalom, priest. Throughout the Bible, we've got a lot of stories of how taking up after the customs of other nations, how we had been punished and destroyed as a people. So now going through these records again and reviving the culture of Israel, we're seeing it now. We're seeing it now that coming back into the truth and living this truth, applying this truth to our life. How again our nation grows and is getting, I don't want to say getting rid of, but reversing the curses that we have been under for a couple thousand years because of our disobedience. And we're seeing how applying these laws that we were given the laws that we were given, how that sets us apart from the other nations. And again, damn Slack. And again, adds that protection, for not only us but our children. Rebuilding that kingdom of heaven that the Bible prophesies. We are seeing that in the UPK. At least I can't speak for anybody else. Listen, the Lord be with you and yours if you were a brother, if you were a sister. But if you ain't gathering together with your people, you're just throwing caution to the wind. Here we go. Slack. Yeah. Is the orange skies on New York biblical? Or is the orange skies in New York signs of the end times? I don't know. New York got orange skies right now? What's this? Let me look that up real quick. New York, orange skies. Anybody got a link or something that they'd like to present? I said, this is live right now. So let me just, damn, I wonder if I can, hold on. Let me see if I can incorporate that in our live stream. So like, well, let me just import it like that. But I'm trying to look this up. Yeah, I don't know what's all going on in New York. They got orange skies. I think it's just about, it's nighttime over here, so they should have been night. Is that going on right now? Like it's 9 something. So over there it's probably, what is it, like 10, 21, 11, 21 something. Oh, that was on June 9th. We some days past that. Yeah, so like it says, I'm not sure exactly the circumstances surrounding New York's orange skies. It's giving kind of a breakdown of smoke in the atmosphere that's breaking up the light spectrum, so that it filtered out some of the other colors that we would normally see that would give us that full spectrum that we would, see color TV in, for example, and just providing like an orange filter. There's fires in the East Coast right now. Good night. All right, so to answer that part, Salaki, is the orange skies in New York biblical? If there's fires burning up the East Coast right now, yeah. I don't want to jump out the window and say yeah, it's biblical, because I mean it could have been. I don't know what the circumstances are behind that, so I don't want to jump to any conclusions. But if it's similar to what was happening on the West Coast, then yeah, yeah. So, listen, Lord be with New York. If you're out there on the East Coast, we got schools all up and down the Eastern Seaboard. You know what I'm saying? And we got schools all up and down the West Coast too that never had any problems when, California was on fire. Which is another reason why, again, keeping these laws, sticking to the Israelite culture and way of life, man, it's that sets us up for success versus, being given up to vile affections. Because if you go to Leviticus chapter 18, verse 3, after the doings of the land of Egypt, and Egypt is just a Greek word, means bondage, wherein ye dwell, shall ye not do. And if you go to the history books of Egypt, they were in all types of weird stuff, man. All types of weird stuff. Their food, their sexual preferences, their shout out to Canania. They was on the map too. Egypt was on the maps too. They were also in that way of life. After the doings of the land of Egypt, wherein ye dwell, ye shall not do. Don't follow that map. Don't take up they practices and their way of life, man. It ain't got nothing to do with us. Let them spread the monkeypox. Like, listen, I don't know if dude went to a zoo and diddled with a flipping chimpanzee and then went back to his boyfriend house and then whatever happens. It just it's look at the testimonies that came out of that. I mean, they were lined up around the blocks of the clinics. And it happened like in like a wave, like I mean, damn near overnight. We were hearing about this stuff. Crazy, disgusting, disgusting. That's Egypt for you. America is spiritually Egypt, Sodom, Gomorrah, Babylon, because they give into that lust and to that again instant gratification. And then they got to find out the hard way that was nasty. But just like that heroin addict, man, that when somebody ODs off of heroin, that next addict is trying to find out where that connection was, because that's got to be the strong, that's got to be the good shit. So now their addiction is so advanced and their tolerance is so high that now they need to try it. So like now they need to try it, otherwise they're not going to get the same effect. So now same thing with that kind of behavior. It's going to lead you down a treacherous lifestyle. Fires on the East Coast. Good night. It's like where is it in New York City that the fires are? If anybody knows. Damn. I just clicked off into the wrong screen. Yeah, I don't know if it's supposed to be in New York City or if it's It's like you're trying to get back to that window. There we go. Now we back. Like Canada. What's happening in Canada? And that's smoke is going to New York. Okay. That's now then it's just filtering out the light. Ah, shucks. So hey, listen, Lord be with Canada. Rocky and Bullwinkle out there, man. Moose are cool. I don't know what they doing up in Canada. But again, they are also guilty of the oppression that they place on so-called Native American Indians from the tribes of Gad. So I mean, hey, they might be that could be biblical, sis. They might be answering for their transgression against the Most High too. Which is why we keep our ear to the, keep our ear to the streets and keep our ear to this truth, so that we know how we're supposed to walk versus how everybody else is trying to lead us. And we take accountability for our people, which is why it's annoying as I remember the general saying, listen, be annoying about it. Spread this truth and be annoying about it if you got to. Don't ever stop. Don't ever shut up about it. 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 24, let no man seek his own, but every man another's wealth. Now, if you were to take that out of context, we'd have to read more into this. But if you were to take that out of context, you might think that almost says, rob the next man. This is talking about building up your brothers, building up your sisters. Don't just worry about yourself. Listen, help them succeed too, man. Listen, support black-owned businesses. Support them taco trucks. Support if you're in Milwaukee, some of the main businesses that we actually own, so like the laundromats on the south side. A lot of them are Hispanic owned. El Rey, for example, and there's no monetization that we're getting from any of them. So it's not like we're doing a trade off with them. Just it's a good food store. You ain't got to rely on Walmart or Pick and Save, and they're knockoff brands. You can actually holler at some brothers and get us get. You're gonna go shopping anyway, but at least you can spend it with your people. Holler at all the Mexican restaurants on the south side, man. Just shout out to a couple of them. JC King's, Jalisco's, Playa Cafe. I mean, it's like a Nueva Playa Cafe. Um, it's, great food out there, and we got some good clothing stores out there. Some of the only things that we own is some of them food shops and them clothing joints. Get you some fly ass boots. Get some fly ass boots and some hats. Well, you ain't gotta, order off of Amazon. Holla at Tobogganaz too, Officer Tobogganaz out here in Wisconsin, man. He got family out there, in South America that make boots from the ground up. That brother be making some fly ass boots from scratch, custom fitted, man. Get any design you want on there. And Tobacconaz himself, he can make garments from scratch. The UPK Milwaukee Garment Department working on some things for you. I get ready to in class here in a second, Slovakia. Trying to look for more on that story though. Yeah, so I'm gonna check in on that Canada thing. Sometimes the earth just be and don't nothing happen without the Lord's authority. But sometimes the conditions, the strain that the earth can be put under, again, due to you know uh, man's interference, and I mean just flat out so-called white people interference. They everything they touch they pollute. So it could be a direct result of just the strain that they put on. the atmosphere, the ozone layers, the river. I mean, man, dog. At one point in time, believe it or not, you could fish out of Lake Michigan. Now, I mean, it is sketchy. That is a sketchy thing to do. Even just to take a dip, at the beach and try to cool yourself off during the summer in Milwaukee, man, on Lake Michigan. That's it's something to think about. It's something to kind of did you get all your shots? You mad about them vaccines, bro? You don't listen. You mad about them vaccines? You don't want to just jump into Lake Michigan without some kind of protection, man. And I ain't talking about a snorkel and flippers. I'm talking. You want to make sure that you are up to code. Get your tetanus shot. I get my tetanus shot, man. Because I know, like, well, I work in a lot of kind of rough environments too, so I'm always getting cut up or scratched or burned metal, rusted metal, things like that. So I always stay up on the tetanus shot, but man, you want to make sure that you up to code. Dealing with some of these bodies of water out here, man. 'Cause you can't just eat any old thing out of there. You can't just. It's questionable. It's questionable if you want to swim in there too. No matter how hot it is, listen, just go turn on the shower, turn the cold water on in the shower, and you know settle for that. That's a damn shame. And again, with these laws, we got laws about how to farm, how to agriculture, how to till the land, how to rotate the land, how to rotate the crops. That if it wasn't for the Bible, the world would not know that. The world would not know that. And it's something that we are putting back into practice amongst ourselves. And as we acquire land, and we you got that law of shit, don't trim like the gleanings. So like, I want to pull that up real quick. I don't want to paraphrase it and butcher the shit out of it. Um, do not, what is it, the glean? All right, so Leviticus chapter 23 and 22. And a lot of the laws that you're going to see you can find in Leviticus. They do call it the Levitical laws, but it's not the only place where the laws are contained. But Leviticus chapter 23, verse 22, when you reap the harvest of your land, don't reap the corners of your field or gather the gleanings, like the droppings of uh if you got a vineyard or something like that, as and and this might not be true with every vine plant, but there are certain kind of indicators on, like, when they ripen, to the right stage, where they might drop off the vine. Um, but the ones that come loose from the vine and are dislodged from the plant, that are on like the border of your garden. So like if this is your field, your crop area, these would be the edges. Do not take that harvest from around here. Things that drop off from around here. Um, leave that for the passerbys. And we're not talking about you just you've got a couple planters in your backyard. In the spirit, if you want to do that too, there's nothing wrong with that. But these were laws for like you got farmland, you've got acres of land, and you're providing food for the people. You're not gonna have acres of land just for your house. Like when you're growing food, you're not gonna eat all that food, man. You're not gonna have that many kids. You're not gonna eat all that food. You're doing that to sell it, to give charity for the people that ain't got it. So if you had somebody traveling through your land, you're supposed to let them. You're supposed to give them free access to like those corners. So again, when you reap the harvest of your land, don't reap the corners of your field or gather the gleanings. Leave them for the poor and the foreigners. I am God, your God. So he said, I am the Most High, your power. If you're to read this in the Hebrew, um, it's again we got laws on how to conduct ourselves around each other, how to take care of the land, how to conduct our crops, how to conduct our livestock. Um, but again, right now we don't own property like that. We don't have farms and cattle like that. So a lot of those laws, we can't put into effect. But again, we are slowly building up to that point. We're a fresh. This is, you got to remember, this is new for a lot of people. A lot of people still think they're Africans. A lot of people still think that they're Asians from the Bering Strait, or that they're Spaniards, because that's what the history books, as we know it, are going to narrate to the people, which just is not the case. So again, this is why we have to gather together, that nation that's not desired, so at least we can come to the table and discuss the issues that we may differ on, and get to the heart of the matter, get to the source of it. If you got some information that you think is relevant to the point, bring it on, man. Every Thursday, Cross the Line Radio, Captain Tazariak and Captain Kataza. Every Monday, America on Fire, Commanding General Yahanna. ISUPK.com. You can, if you had any information, feel free to either email it to any of our platforms. You can come see us on social media and on every platform that's pretty much available. I can't think of anything that we're not on. Clubhouse, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, MeWe, Google My Business. I don't know how interactive that is, but again, you can get a lot of the contact information from those sources. So there really wouldn't be any excuse to just keep all this great knowledge that all you independent scholars have accumulated over the years, to not share it with the people, except if you're a selfish bastard. In which case, there's an organization that has gold tassels and an NDA for you to sign. That's ready and willing, I'm sure. Yeah, so long as you have a clean background check. Listen, bro, if you got a record, get all that shit straightened out before you go to some of them groups, because they gonna make a quick $2,000 off you. Over here, listen, we understand. We've got programs to try to help people, brothers and sisters, clear their records. It's not the same for every state, but we've got brothers and sisters, or it's like the brothers that, well, ancestors really, that know the proper steps to take to try to clean your record up, if there are some concerns on there. So heed to that counsel. Gather together with your people, man. Come kick it with us in Chicago. Come check out that fire weekend. We got the number right on the screen. We got the social media handles on the screen. You got any questions, comments, or concerns, you can always reach out. Not that big a deal, man. We got you covered. So with that, I'm just gonna read the security announcements real quick. All right, the I.S.U.P.K. We are the I.S.U.P.K. Started out of 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York. New roof, or it's like a roof for new brothers and sisters. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they're off limits for 6 months. They'll be saluted only. They're here to shed themselves of the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to her brother or sister. And again, these are safeguards in place. You got to remember, we coming out of hellish conditions. A lot of brothers and sisters that are discombobulated and unoriented, unstable, coming out of you know, drug-induced lifestyles, violent backgrounds. They have a hard time trusting, have a hard time with discipline, disagree with authority figures, which is definitely a staple in UPK to help provide and protect that decency and order, and to keep the standard and the protocols of the school intact. So we have rules like this to give you the time to heal, to cope, to adjust, to learn. And you should be selfish about that. Take your time with that. Take longer than 6 months if you need it. Take 9 months, take a year, take 2 years, take 3 years. Ain't no pressure. We've spent years and generations and decades and centuries developing unhealthy skills and adaptations, taking on these all these crazy influences that have only ever gotten us killed, because it takes us away from home. So take that time for yourself to adjust to a new way of life. That's going to be demanding of you. Like don't get this thing twisted, man. This ain't magic. This ain't Christianity. This ain't just gonna be clicking your heels and you're in Never Land. You're in the kingdom of heaven. It don't work that way. The kingdom of heaven can be within you. We see that amongst each other with that brotherhood and that sister. Those are some of the pivotal points as to how this works. One God, one power. Ain't no. I'm gonna learn this from Buddha. I'm gonna learn this from Hinduism. Uh, I'm gonna let the Dalai Lama kiss my kid, but I ain't gonna have my kid suck on his tongue. What I'm saying? There ain't no wiggle room. Ain't no gray areas. The Bible is very black and white, literally and figuratively speaking. But we have these protocols in place to protect our people. There's another 6 months. So you got that 6 months where they're to be saluted only. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to her brother or sister. And you should respect that too. Some people are, I gotta ask no man this or that. Yeah, nigga, you do. Yeah, you gotta ask your supervisor on the job if you can take a piss. You gotta ask your mama if you can have, some candy. You gotta ask the school leader if you can interact with another brother or sister. And again, strictly heterosexual interactions in this capacity. You better get that permission. There's another 6 months in which a brother and sister will court each other. And again, that's to take the time to get to know each other, to see if you're looking at them as a prospective, if you're a brother looking at that sister as a prospective wife, you want to make sure that's somebody you're going to be able to tolerate for the rest of your life, because ain't no divorce in the Bible. That again, that's law. Moses had suffered it because, again, how hard-headed we were, and I don't want to say, well, yeah, with his consideration of, again, us coming out of captivity and not being of a sound mind, not being stable. Everything was still very shaky. in that time, because we had spent hundreds of years there. But even from the beginning, that's not how it was supposed to be. And Yahweh had cleared that up and raised the bar, raised that standard. Because Moses didn't want to do that. He didn't want to, give anybody a certificate of marriage. He just understood, like, listen, if these two stay around each other for this long with all these problems, you know, somebody gonna end up, with a throat split, or something. He understood the dangers. But in the process of healing, from those from the trauma that we've been afflicted with, it's the divorce is not permissible. So we take that courtship to make sure that y'all can be compatible. You're gonna take that time to get to know one another without any sexual kind of contact, because sex is marriage according to the Bible also. But take that time to first take the first 6 months at least to purge yourself of the world that you knew, and to develop um a healthy lifestyle, healthy habits outside of what we've been taught. Take them next 6 months if you find a liking towards the opposite sex, and you would like to try to get to know that person more, get that permission. Take that 6 months of courtship, at least 6 months. Maybe take 9 months. Maybe take a year to get to know that person. And then, seek counsel. Man, make your choice with wisdom. After this 6 month period, the brother and sister will get permission from the head to marry. So now, after that courtship, make sure that you're going in with the right spirit, and that uh, everything is agreed upon. There's an order of operations to everything. So make sure that you're getting the proper counsel, and you're keeping that protocol. Tithes, which is a commandment, that is a law. Tithes is a law. If you think it's just corn, you better send all your corn too. You better send that 10% of your corn. Ain't none of you gonna send corn. You're gonna pay out to pretty much everything else. You're gonna pay all your bills. You're gonna pay all your bills. You spend all your money on weed because it's an herb. Yeah, but you don't think you got to pay tithes. Them tithes go to uh, charitable events, UPK events. It goes to taking care of families, man. Feeding, housing, clothing. Um, this is how we take care of a nation. You kick them ties up, and we've got a nation represented. We got somebody from our nation representing us on a national level, international level. I mean, if you really want to get technical with this, um, that how would I say it? Israel is a dictatorship. The Most High is a dictator. Israel in spirit is kind of like a socialist party, though. We share goods and services amongst each other. Um, we take care of one another. We provide for one another. And again, you never know what this is if you're from the outside looking in, unless you're here with us, experiencing this with us in all these different cities and all these different states with all these different schools. You will never know what this is about. It'd be wise to keep your mouth shut. It'd be even wiser if you were to put on all black and, begin your troopership program. Sister, cover your head and shut your mouth and get into class and get in order and see what this is in real life and apply yourself to it. You'll see the difference between what people say, how people would criticize from their social media platform or standpoint or vantage point, to what's actually going on in the school, which is again why we are not associated with any other organization, because we can't account for what they do, but we know what's going on here at home. So tithes, which is a commandment, you can find it in Numbers chapter 18, verse 21, and Malachi chapter 3, verses 8 through 10. Means tenth in the Hebrew, ma'ishur. 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you, give to the treasury department and teacher. Priest fund, free will offering for priests, not mandatory, whatsoever amount you would like. So now you can get in contact with the school near you. You go to ISUPK.com and pay your tithes there, make donations there. Normally there's like a note, a box where you can kind of indicate, doing this for tithes, or this is for the Midwest Fire Weekend event. And if you got Cash App, actually, so if you get the Cash App, you can send. Just try to pull that up real quick, so like 1 second. All right, so we got a Cash App. You can. So for instance, if you got a Cash App, you can go, $ I.S.U.P.K Milwaukee. You can go $. Where is it? $I.S.U.P.K Midwest Fund. If and depending on where you're at too, maybe their Cash App is different. $ No Cowards, Minnesota. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to them brothers up there. If you got the Zelle app, or if you got Apple Pay, different schools might have different capabilities for it, depending on whatever system or platform they're using. But for Priest Fund, that's not mandatory. Whatsoever amount you would like to donate, that's at your own discretion. Upcoming Holy Convocation. So September, falls on a Friday, September 15th, Friday, sundown. We got the Memorial of the Blowing of the Trumpets. So again, get in contact with the school near you. ISUPK.com, man. Seek them out. Wherever you at, seek them out. See if you need any help with anything, call, reach out to them, reach out the contact page, and ask for the help. If there's anything that you are able to provide, if you want to see, how you can pitch in, how you can kick in, just see what the needs of the school are too. So that's September 15th, Friday at sundown, Feast of the Memorial Blowing of the Trumpets. Any brother wants to be a trooper in the school, start wearing all black, and it's like keep in contact with ISUPK.com, with the school near you, for any updates on events on high holy days. Again, any questions, comments, or concerns, don't be afraid to ask. Any brother wants to be a trooper in the school, start wearing all black. That means your boots, your shirt, your pant, headband, and or scarf. And with that, we're going to salute out. So if you're still with us on our social media, I'm in a visual, Mayim, which means stand. Courtesy salute for the brothers. Salakia, Menavizio, Madin Shabbat, Mayim, Barak. Y'all Bashim, y'all Shabbat, thumb to the brothers. And Salakia. Y'all Shamal, Atam Bashim, y'all shout to the sisters. With that, we can close out the class. The water for y'all joining us. Shout out to Officer Kananya, his rib. Shout out to Officer Ash. We can see y'all soon, man. All right, shalom.